So YouTube, you might be wondering, why shouldn't you just buy your canvases? Wouldn't that be a lot easier? Well, at some point, when your canvases start getting larger and larger, they're going to become ever more expensive to buy. Yet they're going to be a lot cheaper if you just construct them yourself. So, come in closer. I'm going to show you how to stretch a canvas. Okay, this is going to be a really quick tutorial. We're going to go over the materials, the process, and the technique of stretching a canvas. So, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some stretcher bars. You need 4 of these, and you're either going to make a square or a rectangle. And a lot of artists like to make these themselves. You can make them with a miter saw or a table saw, or you can go out to almost any art store and buy them yourself. They usually range from $1 to $5 depending on their size, and they should be made out of hard wood. Now let me talk about how these are constructed. These have a bevel along the edge, so your canvas can float on top of your stretcher bars. So that way, when you're painting, you don't brush up against your stretcher bars and create these unnecessary lines in your painting. Another thing is, when you buy these have these slots that you can use to put them together, and they should fit snugly together. So, really quick, easy process. I'm just gonna put this together really fast. Okay, so there is a lot of room for error right now. So what you need to do is you need to take a T-square and you need to see if everything is at a right angle and check every corner just to make sure. Okay, everything is all squared up. So take your staple gun, and it'll make it easier for you when you're stretching this canvas to staple the edges so it doesn't move. So just a couple of staples and each side ought to do it. Just remember that all the bevel sides need to be facing the canvas and touching the canvas, and all on one side. So we're done with this for right now. Put it to the side, and we're going to grab our material. And for this tutorial I'm going to be using cotton, but there are plenty of other materials. You can use linen, hemp, and other synthetic materials, but cotton is the most ready available and most commonly used, and it is also the cheapest. I can go over other fabrics if you'd like me to in another video if you request it, but the process is the same, and I'm going to be using cotton for this tutorial. So what you want to do is you want to unfold your fabric, and you want to find a corner. There we go. And take your stretcher bars and place it on your fabric. You don't really need to measure out exactly how much slack you have, but you're going to want at least 2 to 3 inches depending on the thickness of your stretcher bars. And go ahead and cut this out. I should also point out that sometimes cotton is sold under the name cotton duct. It's the same thing, and what you need to look out for is how thick your cotton is and how durable it is. Don't get the really thin stuff, get some good thick stuff. Because we're going to be putting some pressure on this cloth and you don't want it to rip. Alright YouTube, let's stretch this canvas. So, on one side, right in the middle, take your canvas, pull it over your stretcher bars, and put one staple in the middle. 1, 2, 3, whatever you need. But put the same thing on the other side and stretch it tight, but not amazingly tight. So, one on the other side. Okay, now go to the other edge and pull it tight, not too tight. One staple there, Go to the opposite side and pull it tight. Staple there. Okay, if you see, there should be this diamond right here, and it should be pretty tight. So now that we have that done, we need to ensure that our canvas is straight. So fabrics are constructed in these weaves. So to keep it straight without any bubbles or wrinkles, we're going to move in a twisting motion and then back around. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take any corner, you're going to stretch it tight, and you're going to staple the corner. Okay? But don't go to the opposite one, go to the corner that's opposite but above. So right here, bring it over, staple, other edge, opposite but above, and then make sure this is tight. Okay, now we're going to go back around. So we're going to pull tight, turn, see, I have 2 staples on each corner now, so you're just handling the rest of the corners. I like to use my legs or my stomach as leverage when I do this. It makes it so much easier. Okay, real tight. Okay, now very tight, no wrinkles, but it's not tight enough. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to canvas stretching pliers. You're going to need these if you want to make some good tight canvases, and I'm going to show you now how to use them. So on one edge, I'm going to put a couple of staples. I'm going to pull it a little tight, but it doesn't matter too much. Okay, I'm just going to put like 3 staples. Okay, now on the other side, I'm going to use my pliers. And sometimes if you can't get a grip, you can pinch your canvas a little bit and put it in the pliers. And on the other side of the pliers, they'll usually have this wedge or this lever right here, and you put it up against your stretcher bars and pull. So just like this, bend it over, and pull. And then put a couple of staples. Alright, that's going to leave your canvas nice and tight. So on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull it tight, put in 2 staples. Okay, again, I'm going to grab my canvas. I'm going to use my body as leverage, and I'm going to pull tight. Not too tight, because your canvas can rip. Okay, just a couple of staples. There you go. You're going to have a nice tight canvas. To put it into different perspective, at this point what you're going to do is you're going to move away from the middle of your canvas in a zigzagging formation to staple your canvas. Occasionally while you're doing this, you're going to have to switch to the other sides to ensure that the weaves in your canvas are straight. Because of the weaves, you always want to move from one side to the other, never around. You always want to work with the weaves. Don't just do one side and then do the other. Put a couple of staples in one side and then put a couple of staples in the other side. Just make sure that you give each side its own special treatment and leeway. Just remember to pay attention to all your sides Don't just attack one side and then the others. Work on all sides at once. Oh. Here I am at the corners, mostly finished, just almost there. Just using my stretcher pliers, because at this point it's really hard to stretch your canvas with just your fingers. If I find any wrinkles on the backside, I like to just put one extra staple. So here we have our canvas all stretched out, but what a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes when you sell your art, people look at the back of your canvas. Why? Why would they look at the back of your canvas, right? It shows how much you care about your art. If it just looks like this, if these edges are just stapled down lazily, they know that you don't care about your art. Take pride in your art, and it shows, and people appreciate it. So what you have to do, and there's 100 ways to do this, but you need to fold the edges and you need to make them look neat. So I'm going to take this edge, and you got to think, how am I going to position my canvas? Is it going like long ways or sideways, hamburger or hot dog? Well, you want these to be imperceptible. So you don't want people to see them. So you fold them towards each other, and say if it's long ways, I'll put them on the top so people don't see the folds. Whatever it is, you need to hide your folds. People don't want to see them, and you need to hide them behind your canvas. Okay, so again, 100 ways to do this, but real quick, it's easy. Pull it over, see that fold? Okay. Then you fold it again, you bring it over, and this needs to be real tight, okay, really tight. And then I like to keep it folded long ways but still behind my canvas. Some people like to tuck it even more, but this is how I do it. Staple there and staple there. All I need is 2 staples. Okay, so same thing on the other side. Fold it over, get that crease, and then fold it again real tight. Make sure it doesn't overlap over onto your canvas. You can staple it any way you want, doesn't matter, whatever. Just make sure it's nice and neat. Okay, there we have it, nice, neat. And let's go ahead and do that to the other side. Okay, real quick, fold over, fold again, staple. Real quick, fold over. A lot of times people like to cut all this slack, but I'm going to do something with it real quick. Okay, kind of like a twisting motion. Alright, real nice and neat. Staple, staple. Okay. Now I have a lot of extra slack. I don't want it to be uneven. I'm going to cut this side up. So, okay. So this looks really nice. Okay, it's totally fine to leave it like this. But sometimes people like to fold their canvases under itself. Sometimes along the seam. This makes a really beautiful seamless canvas. And all you need is a couple of staples. You're not supporting anything. Just fold it over. Real nice. You don't have to worry about technique. You can do whatever you want at this point. Really, you could leave it just like before and it'll just be just fine. But if you take extra care, people will notice. So the last thing you need to do, just if there's any of these strands, don't pull them, cut them. This is something you should do. You don't want anything hanging from the back of your canvas. That'll look real sloppy. And the last thing is, if there's any staples hanging out, just give them a couple whacks with your hammer. So YouTube, our canvas is done. The back looks all nice and presentable, and if you flip it over, the front is all nice and tight. Now, you may be ready to paint on this canvas if you are painting in acrylics. Acrylics are neutral in the pH scale and would do no damage to the cotton over time. However, if you are painting in oil paints are slightly acidic and would destroy the cotton over several years. So you would need to protect your canvas with a layer of gesso. And I'll have another tutorial for that, and I'll post the link right on this canvas with the magic of YouTube. And you should check that out, even if you are an acrylic painter. Thank you for watching YouTube. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys later. You're awesome.